The distress call drifted through the void like a fading heartbeat. Its signal wavered, broken by static, yet the message repeated with stubborn urgency. To any Terran vessel. Lysaria 3 is contaminated. We need medical assistance, please. Commander Orin Vale listened in silence as the audio looped across the briefing chamber. The dim blue lighting reflected off his uniform's polished edges, but his expression stayed calm, controlled. He played the message again. And again. Each playback edged deeper under his skin. So, Orin finally said, "This is the third colony hit within 5 days." Across the table, Intelligence Director Celine Ward nodded. Similar symptoms. Rapid onset organ collapse, neural degradation, complete ecological sterilization. And every colony requested the same thing, medical aid. Orin folded his arms. Strange they contacted us before their own regional defense fleets. That's the problem, Celine replied. 2 colonies never had time. The infection spreads in hours. Lysaria 3 lasted longer, but barely. The image on the central screen shifted to grainy visuals of a once bustling Lysarian settlement now abandoned. Homes stood cracked open. Skies hung sickly grey. Streets were empty except for scattered equipment left behind in a rush to escape. Orin stared at the frozen frame. Any signs of military engagement? None, Celine said. But we intercepted something else, encrypted bursts near the Sable Rift. Varrock signatures. At that name, the room's tension sharpened. The Varrock Dominion was infamous for brutal experiments and expansionist ambition. Their interest in frontier colonies never boded well. Orin leaned closer. Are you telling me the Dominion engineered this? Celine hesitated only a moment. We believe so. We can't confirm without direct samples. A holographic projection flared to life beside her, a towering warship rendered in metallic silver and crimson. The United Terran Reach wants you to take the Hyperion, she said. Your orders: investigate the contamination, protect survivors, secure evidence, and determine if the Dominion's involved. Orin studied the image of the colossal supercarrier. Bristling with weaponry, encased in black titanium composite, Hyperion was humanity's most intimidating creation. The kind of ship deployed only when diplomacy was done. He exhaled through his nose. You're sending a war fleet to answer a medical distress call. Better over-prepared than obliterated, Celine said. We suspect a trap. Orin knew she was right. He tapped the table twice, signaling his acceptance. Very well. I'll take command immediately. Hyperion loomed in orbit like a steel titan waiting for battle. As Orin boarded the vessel, the sight still stirred something deep within him, respect mingled with responsibility. The ship's interior hummed with controlled energy. Officers snapped to attention as he passed. Marines checked gear. Medical teams loaded quarantine modules. Engineers calibrated environmental seals. No one knew what awaited them, but everyone moved with quiet determination. Orin stepped onto the bridge. The panoramic viewport displayed a curtain of starlight stretching endlessly ahead. Status, he asked. Lieutenant Ferrin glanced up from his console. All systems primed. Jump coordinates locked. Crew ready. Take us out, Orin said. The Hyperion's engines ignited with a deep reverberation. Space bent, folded, and swallowed them whole. When the ship emerged into the Lysarian system, the sight on the main display made several officers gasp. Lysaria 3 floated below, once emerald and vibrant, now mottled with pale blotches spreading across continents. Its atmosphere carried a faint metallic sheen. Orin observed the planet in silence. Begin orbital scans. Prepare quarantine zones. A faint chime signaled an incoming transmission. The Lysarian colonial administrator appeared on screen, eyes wide, voice shaking. You sent a warship. We asked for doctors. Orin stepped forward. His tone remained firm. Director, your colony transmitted signs of engineered contamination. We brought medical teams, but we won't risk them unprotected. The administrator faltered. We didn't expect this much protection. Protection, Orin said, is exactly why we're here. He ended the link before panic turned into argument. Launch survey drones, he ordered. Set landing protocols for the quarantine team. Drones burst from Hyperion's hangars, trailing thin blue light as they swept toward the planet. Moments later, data cascaded onto the screens: radiation pockets, chemical signatures, thermal anomalies. What are we looking at? Orin asked. Science Officer Wren adjusted her lens display. It's not natural. The molecular patterns show intentional arrangement. This pathogen was designed to propagate aggressively. Someone built it to overwhelm. Orin's jaw tightened. Any survivors? One life sign near the southern district, Wren replied. Weak, but alive. Prepare a recovery shuttle. He left the bridge and moved toward the shuttle bay. Marines in sealed armor accompanied him. The shuttle descended through Lysaria 3's ashen clouds, landing on cracked pavement outside a collapsed residential complex. Orin stepped out, the filtered air hissing through his mask. The wind carried a faint chemical tang. Broken structures leaned inward, smothered by gray residue. Commander, a Marine called, pointing toward a half-buried doorway. Orin followed. Inside the dim rubble, a Lysarian lay slumped against a wall, skin pale and veins marked with faint luminescent lines. Orin knelt beside him. You're safe. We're here to help. The alien's eyelids fluttered. You, humans, they wanted you to come. Orin's voice sharpened. Who wanted us here? The Lysarian tried to speak, but a tremor racked his body. He forced the words through stiffened lips. They watched, waited, wanted to see if you'd bring healing or fear. Orin exchanged a quick glance with the medic beside him. Who watched? The Lysarian's eyes widened with sudden terror. Behind the clouds, in the dark, they're still. His breath halted. The medic shook his head. Orin rose slowly. Every instinct flared. Commander, the Marine at the door said, we've got movement in low orbit. Orin stepped outside. A plume of dark clouds broke open just enough for his helmet HUD to lock onto faint heat signatures at high altitude. Wren's voice sounded through his compiece, tense and clipped. Hyperion just detected cloaked vessels. Multiple. Watching us. Orin stared upward as the last rays of Lysaria 3's fractured sun reflected off invisible hulls. Pull us out, he ordered. Return to the shuttle. Now. As they lifted off, his mind raced. The infection, the surveillance, the timing, everything pointed to orchestration. And someone had counted on humanity arriving unarmed and exposed. Back aboard Hyperion, Orin stepped onto the bridge. Officers turned toward him, awaiting orders. Commander? Ferrin asked. Orin didn't hesitate. Raise shields. Arm the lances. Whoever's hiding up there, they expected medics. He faced the display as a fleet of dark shapes shimmered into partial view. They're about to learn what happens when they underestimate humans. If you'd like Chapter 2, say begin Chapter 2 and I'll write it in the same style, quality, and pacing. The bridge of the Hyperion dimmed as tactical overlays washed across the main display. Cloaked signatures flickered around Lysaria 3 like faint ghosts, never fully visible, never fully hiding. They drifted in patient arcs, as though waiting for humanity to make the first mistake. Magnify Sector 6, Orin said. The image sharpened. A shadow glided across the void, its outline jagged and predatory. The Dominion's ships were unmistakable angular hulls built like weapons, every surface meant to intimidate. Lieutenant Ferrin whispered, "They're watching us like we're test animals." Orin replied quietly, "They're measuring us." Science Officer Wren interrupted from her console. "Commander, the Lysarian survivor we retrieved, he's stabilizing. But his readings are inconsistent. There's neurological interference." Interference? Wren nodded. The virus isn't just biological. It interacts with neural pathways. It's sending something. Sending. Orin straightened. Clarify. Wren hesitated. I don't have a better word. The pathogen emits micropulses of encoded data through the brain's electrical patterns. Almost like a message. Orin's chest tightened. A coded pathogen. Deliberate. Calculated. Let me see it. Ren tapped her console. A sequence appeared across the holotable, twisting strands of chemical signatures layered over a faint digital pattern. The pattern pulsed across the graphic, forming noisy geometric shapes. The ship's AI, Medusa, rendered a cleaned version. A single line appeared. "The weak will submit." The room fell silent. Ferren cursed under his breath. They encoded ideology into a virus. Ren swallowed. No one in the galaxy does that except the Dominion. Orin stared at the phrase until it blurred. "Prep a secure link," he said. "Let's see if our watchers feel like speaking." The Dominion answered sooner than expected. The holoprojector flickered, then stabilized into the towering figure of Kortal, arch-strategist of the Dominion. His scaled features reflected crimson from unseen fires, and his eyes gleamed with cold amusement. "So," Kortal rumbled, "the humans finally bring something worth my attention." Orin stepped into view, expression unreadable. "You deployed a biological weapon against civilians. Explain yourself." "Explain?" Kortal's chuckle vibrated through the speakers. "You misunderstand. This is a demonstration. A test. I wished to see whether humanity brings healers or soldiers when threatened." "There were families on that colony," Orin said, voice low. "Yes," Kortal replied. "You failed to save them. But you arrived with a warship." His fangs glinted. "Interesting choice." "We came prepared," Orin said. "Your reputation made that necessary." "Don't flatter yourself," Kortal hissed. "Your species plays at compassion. You send doctors everywhere, patching wounds that others have earned. I simply wanted to see what happens when your mercy is turned against you." Orin's posture stiffened. "You consider weaponized pandemics an experiment. I consider them art." Kortal leaned forward. "And the Lysarian frontier is merely my canvas." The connection cut abruptly. The silence that followed felt suffocating. Ren spoke first. "Commander, he wanted us to see this. He wanted a reaction." Orin nodded. "And he wanted us to question ourselves." He turned toward the crew. "We don't give him that satisfaction." Ferren's console chimed. "Commander, long-range scans show the Dominion forming a half-sphere blockade around the planet. They're boxing us in." Ren added, "Their ships are holding fire. This isn't an attack, it's observation. They're waiting to see our next move." Orin paced slowly across the bridge. "They think we'll retreat, call for reinforcements, or negotiate. They think we'll act like diplomats." "What will we do?" Ferren asked. Orin stopped. "We complete the mission." He opened a comlink to the medbay. "Dr. Havers, status on the survivor?" The doctor's voice came through steady but strained. "He's conscious. You should hear what he told us." Orin made for the lift. The medbay was sealed behind a triple quarantine barrier. Through the clear material, Orin saw the Lysarian lying beneath luminous diagnostic arcs. His chest rose shallowly, and his limbs twitched on occasion, but his eyes were clearer now. Dr. Havers stepped toward Orin. His lucid in short bursts. But each burst comes with severe neurological backlash. "I need whatever he can give us." Havers nodded and activated the audio channel. The Lysarian's voice crackled. "Human, Commander?" "I'm here," Orin said. "Tell me who did this." The alien swallowed with difficulty. "The Dominion came months ago. Not openly. They wanted data. Population distribution. Immune profiles. Response patterns. They studied you," Orin said. "They studied you," the Lysarian corrected. "They wanted to know how humans respond to fear. To suffering. To helplessness." Orin's stomach twisted. "What else?" "They said humans hide their teeth behind charity, but teeth are still teeth. They wanted to provoke a bite." The Lysarian's breathing faltered. Havers signaled to pause, but the alien grasped Orin's hand through the glove barrier. "There is more," he whispered. "This plague is the first wave. They plan more. 5 systems. Maybe more." Orin's pulse hammered in his ears. "Where? Where is the next strike?" The Lysarian coughed weakly. "Sable. Rift." His voice cracked. "They have Many vessels. They prepare, phase 2. His eyes dimmed. The monitors steadied into flat lines. Havers whispered, "There's nothing more we can get." Orin stood motionless for a moment, absorbing each word. Then he said quietly, "Seal the medbay. Begin full pathogen analysis." Back on the bridge, Orin's voice held steely precision. "We have confirmation. The Dominion engineered the virus. They're preparing additional strikes. And they're watching to see if we break." Ren exhaled sharply. "We need reinforcements." "No," Orin said. "We need initiative." Ferren looked uncertain. "Sir, what does that mean exactly?" Orin turned to face the viewport, where Dominion ships hovered like predators biding their time. "It means we don't run. We don't plead. And we don't let them weaponize mercy." He tapped his console. A tactical schematic emerged. "The Dominion expects vulnerability. So we'll show them something else." Ren's eyes narrowed. "Commander, are you suggesting?" "Yes," Orin said. "Prepare the Hyperion for defensive humanitarian mode. Evacuation protocols. Medical isolation fields. And full combat readiness." The crew moved instantly. "This isn't a rescue mission anymore," Orin said. "It's a counter-operation. We secure evidence, protect the frontier, and destroy any vessel attempting to spread this plague." Ferren swallowed. "And the blockade?" Orin's voice was calm. "They want us timid. We're about to disappoint them." He stepped into the center of the bridge. "Kortal wants to see what humans do when cornered." He folded his hands behind his back. "Let's show him humans don't get cornered. If you want Chapter 3, just say, 'Begin Chapter 3. The Dominion blockade tightened formation as the Hyperion adjusted its orbit. Dark silhouettes shifted against the stars, their hulls bristling with silent hostility. They held position just outside direct engagement range, waiting, still testing humanity's limits. Orin stood at the center of the bridge, gaze fixed on the tactical map blooming in red and blue arcs. Dominion ships circled like predators, but he recognized the flaw in their stance: confidence. They believed Hyperion came for quarantine alone. "Lieutenant," Orin said, "activate false humanitarian signatures." Ferren blinked. "Sir, those are for distress mimicry. I know what they're for." Ferren swallowed, then keyed in the command. The Hyperion's hull began projecting signals identical to unarmed medical cruisers' broadcasts of vulnerability. A message across the void: "We are harmless." Ren understood instantly. "They'll move in. They always move in when they smell weakness." Orin nodded. "And when they do, they'll reveal every stealth pattern they're using." The lights dimmed as Hyperion dropped into silent mode, the ambient hum lowering to a threatening purr. Crew members moved with sharpened focus, tension threading through the air like a drawn bowstring. Moments later, Ren's display flared to life. Contact. Dominion ships closing. 6 destroyers. 3 corvettes. 2 battle cutters. Orin's lips hardened. "Good. Keep the humanitarian signal active until they commit." The screen zoomed in. Varrock vessels approached in a tightening spearhead formation. Their engines burned with icy blue light, their weapons primed but not yet fired. "They think we're unaware," Ferren whispered. "They think we're alone," Orin corrected. He raised his hand. "Drop all signals. Full decloak. Arm every lance." The Hyperion roared awake. Panels unfolded along the hull like metal wings. Gunports ignited with fierce blue light. Rail lances aligned with a low metallic rumble, locking onto targets with unerring precision. The shift was so sudden, so violent, that even the Dominion ships hesitated. Ren grinned. "I think we just ruined their experiment." Orin didn't smile. Fire at will. The first rail lance shot split the dark. A streak of white-blue energy speared across the void, tearing through the nearest Dominion destroyer. The vessel ruptured instantly, molten debris scattering like embers in space. The other ships scrambled, shields flaring, engines surging. "Multiple Lock-ONS," Ferren warned. "They're panicking," Orin said. "Push forward." Hyperion surged ahead with brutal acceleration. Grave torpedoes launched in synchronized pairs, spiraling outward before slamming into the enemy's flanks. The shockwaves rippled across the formation, forcing the Dominion ships into disarray. One corvette tried to flee. A focused ion curtain caught it mid-flight, disabling its core. It drifted helplessly, lights flickering in surrender. Wren glanced over her shoulder. They weren't expecting a battleship masquerading as a clinic. They never do, Orin said. Continue. The Dominion's line fractured, several ships breaking formation in an attempt to regroup. Orin recognized the tactic. It was a stall, buying time for reinforcements. Lieutenant, Orin said, send drones to the rift vector. Ferren frowned. Sir, that's where their reinforcements will come from. That's why we're sending them. Microdrones shot across space, disappearing into the dark region known as the Sable Rift, a shifting veil of gravitational turbulence and electromagnetic anomalies. It was the Dominion's preferred hiding ground. Seconds later, Wren's console chimed. Commander, you need to see this. The display filled with an enormous structure floating deep within the rift, metallic rings fused to a central sphere, pulsing with eerie red light. It resembled a grotesque star, its tendrils extending like arteries. What is that? Ferren whispered. Orin recognized the architecture immediately. A bioforge. Wren's eyes widened. They're manufacturing the virus there. That's where Phase 2 starts. The crew fell silent as reality settled in. The Dominion wasn't merely testing Lysaria 3. They were preparing mass release. How many systems could this reach? Ferren asked. Dozens, Wren answered grimly. More if the rift's currents pull the spores the right way. Orin's jaw locked. You said the drones picked this up, he asked. Wren nodded. Then they know we've seen it. Orin stepped toward the display. They'll accelerate deployment. Ferren's voice shook. We can't let that happen. We won't. Orin turned to the tactical board. Plot a course to the bioforge. We're going in. Wren hesitated. Commander, the rift's currents are unstable. Our hull might hold, but maneuvering will be a nightmare. We don't need maneuvering, Orin said. We need speed. Before anyone could protest, the comm channel crackled. A booming voice filled the bridge. Commander Vale. You survived longer than anticipated. Cortal's smirking visage materialized on the screen, eyes gleaming with malicious pleasure. I must commend you, he said. The display of firepower was unexpected. But it changes nothing. You are alone in an expanding grave. Orin faced the projection. You engineered a plague and murdered civilians. You won't hide behind your bioforge any longer. Cortal's grin widened. You think you can touch my creation? We don't think. Orin stepped forward. We act. Cortal tilted his head. Your people believe compassion is strength. A charming fiction. Strength is the ability to decide who lives and who dies. I decide. Orin's voice lowered. Then you've misjudged humanity completely. And why is that? Cortal mocked. Because we don't fear shadows. Orin cut the channel. We burn them. Ferren released a long breath. Sir, orders. Orin pointed toward the rift. Take us to the bioforge. Full burn. Hyperion's engines ignited like a small sun. The ship lunged forward, leaving the remnants of the Dominion blockade scattered behind. The crew braced as the rift's edge rippled across the viewport, distortions twisting starlight into waves of shimmering turbulence. Wren steadied herself. Entering the rift in 3, 2. The ship pierced the threshold. Space convulsed around them. Currents slammed against the hull with crushing force. Warning lights blinked across multiple consoles. Ferren's hands flew over controls. Stabilizing. Engines compensating. Wren displayed the bioforge ahead. 2,000 clicks and closing. Dominion forces inbound, multiple cruisers. Orin's eyes narrowed. They won't reach us in time. He activated internal comms. All hands, combat stations. Boarding teams prepare for strike insertion. Wren turned toward him. You're going to board the forge? I'm going to destroy it, Orin said simply. The Hyperion broke through a layer of rift turbulence, emerging into the eerie calm surrounding the bioforge. The structure pulsed brighter, sensing the intruding warship. Dominion ships flashed into view behind them, but they were seconds too slow. Orin stepped onto the launch deck, armor locking into place as the boarding pod sealed around him. Marines lined up behind him, visors glowing. "Commander," Ren's voice came through comms, steady but tense, "the forge's primary chamber is heavily shielded. But there's a breach point along the equatorial ring." "Guide me," Orin said. "Keep their cruisers away." Ferren's voice cut in. "We'll hold the line, sir." Orin braced himself as the pod blasted toward the forge. The metal sphere loomed ahead, red veins pulsing like a living heart. He tightened his grip on the rail. "They wanted to see what humans do under pressure," he murmured. The pod slammed into the breach. "Let's enlighten them. If you want Chapter 4, final chapter, just say, begin Chapter 4. The boarding pod's impact echoed like a thunderclap through the bioforge's internal corridors. A burst of smoke cleared, revealing a tunnel of metallic ribs curving toward a pulsating central chamber. Crimson light washed over everything, steady, rhythmic, like the heartbeat of a monstrous machine. Orin stepped out first, armored boots striking the deck with sharp precision. Behind him, Marines fanned out, rifles raised, scanning every angle. Ren's voice came through the comlink, crisp and urgent. "Commander, the forge's power matrix is spiking. They're accelerating the release sequence." "How long?" Orin asked. 10 minutes at most." Orin checked the map projected in his visor. "We'll stop it at the core." The team moved down the corridor. Organic cables stretched along the walls like veins. Strange vapors hissed from vents overhead, carrying a sickly acidic smell. Orin's helmet filtered it, but the unease clung to him. "Movement," a Marine warned. Shadowed figures emerged from branching tunnels, Varrock soldiers in armor lined with glowing scale patterns. They lunged forward with serrated blades, snarling. "Engage," Orin ordered. The corridor erupted in weapon fire. Blue bolts lit the red gloom. Orin advanced through the chaos, cutting down 2 attackers with precise shots. A third lunged. Orin caught its wrist, twisted sharply, and slammed it against the wall. The Marine squad pressed onward, momentum carrying them through the last of the resistance. As the final Varrock fell, Orin pointed toward a broad archway pulsing with red light. "That's the core." They entered a cavernous chamber dominated by a colossal sphere suspended in an array of rotating rings. Each ring held scientists' consoles fused directly into the metal, their displays flashing virus growth cycles and dispersal trajectories. "The hyperstrain is inside that," Orin said. A deep, familiar voice echoed through the chamber. "And you came all this way to see it die." Orin turned. Kortal stepped from behind a column, armored scales glinting under the bioforge's glow. His posture radiated confidence. Predatory calm. "So the healer arrives," Kortal purred. "Tell me, Commander, have you decided whether to be savior or executioner?" Orin leveled his rifle. "I'm here to end your project." Kortal spread his arms. "Then welcome to your failure." He tapped a device on his wrist. A transparent shield flared across the chamber, sealing the spherical core behind a shimmering barrier. "You can kill me," Kortal said, "but the hyperstrain will still release." Orin stepped forward. "You murdered entire colonies. Why? What do you gain from this devastation?" Kortal laughed. "Understanding. Your species sparked curiosity in the Dominion. A culture that heals instead of conquering. We wanted to see your reaction when the universe refuses your moral games. You call this curiosity? You engineered suffering." Kortal's eyes narrowed. "The weak cling to comfort. The strong reshape fate. I offered you a chance to reveal your true nature. Humanity hides its savagery behind charity, yet one push, and look what emerges." Orin lowered his rifle slowly. "You believe strength means deciding who deserves life." "It does," Kortal growled. Orin's voice remained steady. "Then you've never understood humanity at all." Before Kortal could respond, Orin surged forward. The rifle dropped, his blade ignited. The strike forced Kortal back, claws screeching across Orin's armor. They clashed in a storm of sparks and metal. Kortal's tail whipped forward, narrowly missing Orin's visor. Orin countered with a hard elbow to the jaw, forcing the Varrock strategist sideways. You heal because you fear pain, Kortal spat, swinging a heavy strike. Orin ducked beneath it. We heal because life matters. Kortal roared. Life is a resource. It belongs to whoever claims it. Orin dodged another blow, then drove his blade under Kortal's arm plates. The Varrock staggered, but his fury surged. You cannot stop the hyperstrain, he snarled. Even if you destroy me, the forge is automated. It will open. It will spread. Orin stepped back, breathing evenly. Not if I destroy the generator. Kortal's jaw tightened. You don't even know how. Orin lifted the small module Ren had transmitted earlier, a geometric device glowing with pale blue light. Your shield pulses at a 4-second interval, Orin said. Predictable. Primitive. Kortal blinked, just a fraction, but enough. Orin threw the module. It struck the rotating ring above the sphere. The structure groaned, overloaded by the energy surge. A crack flashed across the barrier. Then another. The shield flickered, destabilizing. Kortal lunged with a furious roar, an instinctive, desperate move. Orin met him head-on. Their collision shook the chamber. Orin twisted, using Kortal's momentum against him, slamming him onto the metal floor. The Varrock's claws scraped against the ground, then stilled as Orin held the blade at his throat. You said strength is deciding who lives, Orin said, voice low. Humanity believes strength is protecting those you'll never meet. Kortal growled weakly. You are naive. Orin pressed the blade closer. You are finished. He slammed a stun charger into Kortal's chest. The strategist jerked violently before collapsing in paralysis. With the fight ended, Orin turned toward the weakening shield. Team, focus fire on that barrier. Marines raised their rifles. Dozens of concentrated shots hammered the shield. Sparks showered the chamber as the rings cracked open. Commander, Ren said through comms, the forge's hyperstrain will burst if the core destabilizes. You have 60 seconds before the chamber ruptures. Orin sprinted toward the sphere's anchor point. Prepare the Hyperion's sterilization cannon. What yield? She asked. The highest it can handle without compromising the rift. Ren hesitated. Understood. Orin reached the base of the sphere. Lights flashed erratically as the internal pressure climbed. He planted 2 explosive charges at structural weak points. Charges set, he said. Detonate when I clear the chamber. Roger that, Ferrin said. Extraction ready. Orin ran back toward the exit. Marines followed, Kortal hoisted over a shoulder. The corridor trembled behind them, alarms blaring, metal groaning as the sphere neared critical failure. Explosives ready, Ferrin called. Detonate, Orin ordered. A thunderous shockwave tore through the core, ripping open the chamber. Orin dove behind a support beam as flames rolled outward. Ren's voice crackled, urgent. Hyperion firing sterilization beam. Brace. A blinding white column pierced the forge from above, melting metal, vaporizing biological material, and reducing the hyperstrain chamber to incandescent ash. Orin shielded his visor as the beam dissolved the entire structure in a cascade of burning fragments. When the light faded, only drifting debris remained. Commander, Ren said quietly, the forge is gone. No traceable spores. Orin exhaled slowly. Mission complete. Bring us home. Hours later, aboard the Hyperion, Orin stood at the viewport as the Lysarian sun rose over a now secure frontier. Dominion ships had retreated beyond sensor range. Ren approached softly. Kortal is in containment. Lysarian leadership wants to speak with you. They're calling humanity the guardians of the frontier. Orin watched the sun's glow reflect off the hull. We didn't come for titles. No, Ren said softly. We came to stop a nightmare. Orin remained silent for a moment, then spoke with quiet conviction. We came to heal. But we stayed to protect. The horizon brightened, casting long beams across the ship. Let anyone who watched today learn something, Orin added. Humanity doesn't break. Ren smiled faintly. What now, Commander? Orin folded his hands behind his back. Now, he said. We prepare. Because somewhere in the dark, others are watching too. And as the Hyperion drifted across the dawn, the galaxy understood. Humans were not to be tested. They were to be respected. If you want an epilogue, side stories, alternate POV, or book cover prompt, just say the word.